The American dream was a contract. You give 40 years of your sweat, your focus, and your loyalty to a company, and in return, they give you the golden years. House paid off, a pension that arrives like clockwork, and the quiet dignity of never having to check your bank balance before buying groceries. But look around. That contract, it wasn't just broken. It was shredded, burned, and the ashes were sold back to you as a convenience. Today, 3 out of every 4 Americans you pass on the street are walking toward a financial cliff they cannot see. They aren't retiring to Florida, they're retiring to poverty. We've been told for decades that if we just save a little more or skip the avocado toast, we'll be fine. That is a lie. This isn't a story about personal failure. This is a story about a systemic heist. A 40-year orchestrated shift that moved the risk from the balance sheets of billionaires to the kitchen tables of the middle class. In the next hour, we are going to deconstruct the math of your future. We will look at why the 401k was the greatest trick ever played on the American worker, why 2026 is the tipping point of no return, and exactly what happens to a society when its elders can no longer afford to grow old. CT Death, OFDTC pension. To understand why you're broke, we have to go back to 1978. Before this, we had defined benefit plans. Simple. You work, you get a check until you die. The company took the risk. If the stock market crashed, it was the company's problem, not yours. Then came a man named Ted Benna. He found a loophole in the tax code. Section 401k. It was originally designed as a little extra tax break for high-level executives, a supplement. But Wall Street and corporate America saw something else. They saw an exit strategy. Within a decade, corporations began killing pensions. They told us, you're in control now. You can pick your own stocks. You have freedom. But freedom without education is just a trap. They traded your security for a gamble. And as of 2026, the house is winning, and you are losing. AT 2026, reality check the math of despair. Let's talk about the magic number. For years, financial advisors told you $1 million was enough. In 2026, $1 million is the new $400,000. Between the hidden tax of inflation and the explosion of healthcare costs, $1 million. If you're lucky enough to even save it, might last you 12 years. If you retire at 65, what do you do at 77? Hope you stop breathing. 0. Not enough. Nothing. We are looking at a generation of workers who will work until the day they die. Not because they love the hustle, but because the alternative is the street. And the most terrifying part? The system is designed to keep it that way. Get the eighth mill trade my treadmill. Why can't you save? Is it because you buy too many iPhones? No. Since 1973, American productivity has increased by over 60%. But wages, they've crept up by a measly 15% in real terms. Meanwhile, the cost of a home has skyrocketed by 300%. Education by 1,500%. You aren't struggling because you're bad with money. You're struggling because you are living in an economy where the cost of existence has outpaced the value of labor. In every other developed nation, getting sick is a misfortune. In America, it's a foreclosure. We like to think of our retirement accounts as a nest egg for travel, hobbies, and relaxation. But for the average American, your 401k isn't a vacation fund. It's a glorified escrow account for a hospital system that is waiting to liquidate you. Let's look at the cold, hard math of 2026. Fidelity estimates that an average retired couple age 65 will need approximately $350,000 to $400,000 just to cover medical expenses and retirement. That doesn't include long-term care, the kind where you need help just getting out of bed. That's another $100,000 per year for a private room in a nursing home. Think about that. You spend 40 years clipping coupons, driving used cars, and skipping vacations to save $500,000. You think you've made it. Then a minor stroke or a hip replacement happens. In 3 weeks, the healthcare machine extracts 20 years of your labor. The medical industrial complex in the US is the only business model where the customers charge the most when they are at their weakest. And if you think Medicare is your savior, you've been misinformed. Medicare is a SEV. It has holes. It doesn't cover dental. It doesn't cover vision. And it certainly doesn't cover the custodial care that most of us will eventually need. We are the only civilization in history that forces its elders to go bankrupt just to keep their hearts beating. ATPS Wacholagui OFDS bend. Why is it so hard to stop? Why, when we know the cliff is coming, do we keep buying things we don't need? To understand the retirement crisis, we have to understand the neurological war being waged against your brain. We live in the era of the comparison economy. In 1950, you compared yourself to your neighbor. If he had a Chevy, you wanted a Ford. Today, you are comparing your behind-the-scenes life to the highlight reel of billionaires on Instagram. Your brain wasn't evolved to handle this much envy. Every time you click buy now on Amazon for that $80 gadget you'll use twice, your brain gets a hit of dopamine. It feels like progress, but it's a phantom. Silicon Valley has hired thousands of psychologists specifically to find the glitches in your evolution, to make spending feel like surviving. This is lifestyle creep on steroids. In the US, the moment we get a $5,000 raise, we buy a $7,000 more expensive car. We trade our future freedom for current status. We are essentially financing our future poverty to look rich to people we don't even like. But here's the psychological trick. You aren't buying a car. You aren't buying a watch. You are buying an identity. And the market has figured out that insecurity is the most profitable emotion in the world. As long as you feel not enough, you will spend enough to ensure you never have enough to retire. See Silver Tsunami. Individual struggle is a tragedy, but 70 million people struggling at once. That is a collapse. We are entering the era of the silver tsunami. By 2030, every single baby boomer will be over the age of 65. That's 1 in every 5 Americans. For 40 years, the US economy has been fueled by spending. But retirees don't buy new houses. They don't buy new SUVs. They don't start new businesses. They accumulate. They take money out of the stock market. What happens to your 401k when more people are selling than buying? What happens to a consumer economy when the largest generation in history stops consuming and starts just surviving? For our parents, a house wasn't just a place to sleep. It was a forced savings account. Every mortgage payment was a brick in the wall of their retirement. By the time they stopped working, the house was paid off. Their biggest expense, housing, dropped to nearly zero just as their income dropped. That was the secret weapon of the American middle class. But for you, the ladder has been kicked away. In 2026, we are witnessing the institutionalization of housing. Trillion-dollar hedge funds and private equity firms are outbidding families for starter homes, turning the American dream into a permanent subscription model. We are becoming a nation of forever renters. Think about the math of a 75-year-old renter. If you don't own your home, your survival number never goes down. In fact, due to inflation, it goes up every single year. You are at the mercy of a landlord who doesn't care about your fixed income or your social security check. If you enter retirement without equity, you aren't just retiring. You are moving into a precarious state of housing at the exact moment you are least able to move or find new work. This is the rent trap. It forces you to drain your 401k just to keep a roof over your head. In the 1980s, housing took up about 25% of a retiree's budget. Today, for many, it's approaching 50 or 60%. When half your check goes to a landlord, one bad month, one broken water heater, or one rent hike is all it takes to put a senior citizen on the sidewalk at the diverse penalty. There is a silent wealth killer in America that no financial advisor wants to talk about because it's uncomfortable. It's called gray divorce. Divorces among people over the age of 50 have doubled in the last 2 decades. And while the emotional toll is heavy, the financial toll is often fatal to a retirement plan. Retirement planning is built on the efficiency of two. Two people sharing one roof, one heat bill, one grocery run. When you split that in half at age 60, you don't just lose half your money. You double your expenses. You now need 2 apartments, 2 sets of utilities, and 2 separate insurance policies. In America, the legal system isn't designed to protect your golden years. It's designed to liquidate assets. Legal fees, the sale of the family home during a high interest rate market, and the division of retirement accounts often leave both parties with 30% of what they originally had. For a man or woman at 62, there is no time to earn it back. You are staring at a 30-year lifespan with a 10-year bank account. This late life fracture is why we see so many seniors suddenly living in their cars or moving back in with their adult children. It's not that they didn't work hard, it's that the unit of survival, the family, broke at the worst possible time. In 2026, being single in old age isn't just lonely, it's a high-risk financial category. ETDIEWIT. It's ZERO follicle. There's a popular trend right now. Die with zero. The idea that you should spend all your money while you're alive and maximize your experiences. It sounds poetic. It sounds liberating. But in a country with no social safety net, die with zero is a terrifying gamble. The problem with dying with zero is that you don't know when you're going to die. If you plan to run out of money at 85, but your DNA decides you're living until 98, those last 13 years will be a living hell. We are the first generation in history that has to actuarially predict our own death just to figure out if we can afford a sandwich. For millions of Americans, Social Security is the last line of defense. It's the promise made by FDR that no matter how bad your investments go, the government will catch you. But by 2026, that safety net is fraying at the seams. The Social Security Trust Fund is projected to be depleted by the mid-2030s. Now, that doesn't mean the checks stop entirely, but it does mean a potential 20% to 25% cut across the board. Imagine being 82 years old, barely making it on $2,000 a month, and suddenly getting a letter saying you now have $1,600. In a world where eggs cost $10 and rent goes up every year, that 20% isn't just a cut, it's a death sentence. The math is simple and brutal. In 1950, there were 16 workers for every one retiree. Today, there are less than 3. We are a top-heavy society trying to support a massive elderly population with a shrinking, debt-ridden youth. Relying on the government to fund your 30-year retirement is no longer a plan. It's a prayer. C.A. Spat saluted in the New American Dream. But there is a red pill solution that more and more Americans are taking. They are realizing that if you can't change the math of America, you have to change the geography. It's called geo-arbitrage. In 2026, $3,000 a month makes you lower class in San Francisco or New York. But that same $3,000 makes you wealthy in places like Mexico City, Portugal, or Vietnam. Millions are choosing to leave the country they spent their lives building because, ironically, the only way to live an American middle-class lifestyle is to move somewhere that isn't America. They are trading the rat race for a community where healthcare is affordable, property taxes are negligible, and the cost of living allows them to breathe. It's a bittersweet exodus. The greatest brain drain of retirees in history. ATE pest closing. ATE final choice. We've covered the data. We've looked at the system. We've seen the traps. But at the end of this hour, the numbers don't matter as much as the choice. The system wants you to be a passenger. It wants you to keep swiping, keep spending, and keep hoping that someone will figure it out for you. But the 20th century version of retirement is dead. It's not coming back. No politician is going to save you. No lottery ticket is going to fix this. You have 2 versions of your future self waiting for you 30 years down the line. One is a version of you that is terrified, dependent, and invisible. Someone who is forced to choose between medicine and a meal. The other is a version of you that took back control. Someone who stopped buying status and started buying time. Someone who realized that financial freedom isn't about the size of your bank account, but the number of options you have. Which one of them are you going to feed today? Because every dollar you spend, every hour you waste, and every decision you delay is a vote for one of those 2 people. The clock isn't just ticking, it's accelerating. Don't wait for the golden years to find out they were plated in lead. The end. Thanks for watching. If this video made you uncomfortable, good. Use that discomfort to build your fortress. We'll see you in the next one. Disclaimer. The information provided in this video is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be construed as professional financial, legal, or tax advice. Investing involves risk, including the possible loss of principal. The data presented reflects projections for the year 2026 and historical trends which do not guarantee future results. Please consult with a qualified financial advisor, CPA, or legal professional before making any significant financial decisions. The creators of this content are not responsible for any financial losses or damages resulting from the use of this information.